All right? Before we even start, I need you to stop what you're doing and listen carefully. You could have hidden wealth sitting in your change jar right now. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not hyping. I'm warning you. There are Washington quarters that look completely ordinary. The kind you use for gas stations, vending machines, parking meters, and collectors are fighting over them in private auctions for 6 figures. Real auction shock. Silent fortune hiding in plain sight. Nobody talks about these. And if you don't know what to look for, you will spend them without a second thought. Do not spend these coins. Check your pocket now, because today we're counting down the top 4 most valuable and ultra-rare Washington quarter dollars worth big money, and each one gets rarer, scarier, and more valuable than the last. These coins change everything. Stay with me, because what comes next might be sitting in your wallet. Coin number 1. Now, let's talk about a coin most people would laugh at. The 1971 100D Washington quarter. Yeah, 1971 not 1871, not some ancient colonial relic. 1971. Most people think anything from the 1970s is pocket change. They'd toss it in a tip jar without blinking. And that's exactly why this coin is dangerous. Because while millions were made, a tiny fraction survived in a condition and form that collectors obsess over, and one of them sold for $150,500. Let that sink in. A 1971 100D quarter, over $150,000. This is not fiction. 1971 100 was not just another year. America was under massive economic pressure. The Vietnam War was draining resources. Inflation was climbing. And then something historic happened. President Richard Nixon took the United States off the gold standard. The dollar changed forever. The financial system shifted. Metal markets reacted. Manufacturing costs mattered more than ever. And right in the middle of that tension, the Denver Mint was striking Washington quarters under heavy production pressure. Machines were running hard. Ds were wearing down fast. Speed was prioritized over perfection. And when mints rush, small differences happen. Tiny variations, subtle anomalies, surfaces that tell a story decades later. The 1971 100D Washington quarter features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, his calm profile facing left, the word liberty arching above, in God we trust beside him, and the date 1971 100 below. On rare surviving examples like this one, the strike is unusually sharp. Washington's hair detail is bold. The jawline is crisp. The fields around the portrait are smooth and reflective. Now here's where it gets interesting. The example we're talking about has very small black spots on the obverse side. Most people see that and panic. They assume damage. They assume it's dirty. But experienced collectors lean closer. Because original dark toning, natural oxidation, and microscopic spotting from decades of storage can actually confirm authenticity and untouched surfaces. That antique look, that subtle darkness, that's time speaking. Flip it over. The reverse side is where the shock hits. The eagle design, wings spread wide, arrows clutched in talons, olive branches below, appears incredibly clear. The lettering United States of America is sharp. A pluribus unum is clean. Quarter dollar stands bold. The strike depth is strong for a year, known for overworked dies. And just below the date on the front, that tiny D mint mark. Denver. Collectors fixate on that mint mark placement. Its size, its shape, its alignment. Slight differences can mean the world. Now let's talk about the physical presence of this coin. It weighs 5.67 grams, standard for a clad quarter of the era. Its diameter is 24.26 millimeters. Thickness, about 1.75 millimeters. But here's something most people ignore: the girth and edge definition. The reeded edge on high-grade examples is sharp and consistent. No flattening, no smoothing from circulation. When you hold one in extra fine condition, like this $150,500 example, it doesn't feel like pocket change. It feels tight, solid, structured. The copper-nickel-clad composition, 75% copper core, bonded between 25% nickel outer layers, gives it that slightly cool, dense feel in your hand. But survival is the real miracle. Most 197100D quarters were spent. Hard. They rattled in soda machines, scraped against keys, dropped on asphalt, thrown into bank bags. Almost none were preserved carefully. Almost none avoided cleaning. Almost none kept their original surfaces. And that's the trap. The moment someone sees black spots, what do? They clean it. They scrub it. They wipe it. And in seconds, they destroy thousands of dollars in value. Never clean this coin. Ever. Cleaning strips away microscopic layers of original metal. It erases history. It leaves hairline scratches that professional graders see instantly under magnification. And once it's cleaned, it will never, ever regain its original market power. Professional grading is critical. Coins like this must be authenticated and graded by top-tier services. Condition determines everything. An extra fine coin with strong strike, natural toning, and minimal wear becomes a collector magnet. Why? Because collectors are not just buying metal. They're buying survival. They're buying untouched history from a year America financially pivoted forever. They're buying the tension of 197100 frozen into copper and nickel. And here's what most people miss. The combination of strong Denver strike, exceptional preservation, original dark spotting without damage, clean reverse clarity, no cleaning, no harsh marks. That mix is incredibly rare. Collectors don't scream about these at auctions. They go quiet, calm, focused. Then the bids start climbing. Slow at first, then aggressive, then competitive. And suddenly, a quarter that most people would spend on a soda becomes serious money. Hidden wealth, silent fortune. And here's the psychology behind it. Collectors know most examples are gone, melted into obscurity through wear, lost in circulation, damaged by polishing. So when one survives with strong detail and originality, they hold it. They don't sell quickly. They lock it away. Supply shrinks. Demand rises. Prices climb. That $150,500 sale wasn't random. It was the collision of rarity, condition, history, and collector obsession. So what should you check first? Start with the date, 197100. Then look for the D mint mark. Examine Washington's hair detail. Look at the eagle's feathers. Study the fields for unnatural shine. That's a red flag for cleaning. Check for original toning, subtle gray, soft black spotting, not bright silver glare. Do not try to improve it. Patience creates wealth in coins. If you find one that looks unusually sharp, don't spend this coin. I mean it. Do not spend this coin. Set it aside. Protect it. Have it evaluated professionally, because you might be holding a fortune and not even realize it. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Thousands of these have already been lost, accidentally spent, cashed in, tossed into Coinstar machines. People are accidentally losing hidden big treasure every single day. Most people miss this. They assume modern means worthless. But this detail changes everything. The year, the mint mark, the condition, The survival story. $150,500 for a quarter. Most people ignore. And that's just the beginning. Because the next coin on this list, it makes this one look almost common. It's rarer. It triggered even more aggressive bidding wars. And if you think a 1971 100D is shocking, wait until you see what collectors are doing for the next Washington quarter. Stay with me. You do not want to miss what's coming. You've seen this coin. I guarantee it. It's loud. It's patriotic. It screams America. And because of that, you probably ignored it. The 1976 Washington Quarter. The Bicentennial Quarter. Most people think it's a souvenir, a celebration coin, a novelty. And that is exactly why this one is dangerous. Because while millions were struck, a tiny number survived with a dark black antique surface, a deep yellowish tone on both sides, and strong detail in very fine condition. And one of those coins has hit $250,500. Yes, a bicentennial quarter. $250,000. This is not hype. This is not fantasy. This is what happens when history, condition, and survival collide. Now let's rewind to 1976. America was celebrating 200 years of independence. 2 centuries since 1776, patriotism was everywhere. Flags, parades, special mint designs. The U.S. Mint decided to redesign the quarter's reverse for 1 year only. It wasn't just a coin, it was a national statement. But behind the celebration, the country was facing serious economic tension. Inflation was high. The energy crisis had shaken households. Manufacturing costs were rising. The mint was under pressure to produce huge quantities of commemorative coins fast enough to meet demand. Speed, volume, pressure, and whenever mints operate under pressure, small variations slip through. The obverse still features George Washington's left-facing portrait, Liberty above. In God we trust beside him. But instead of a single date, you see 1776, 1976. 2 dates. 1 coin. A bridge across 200 years. On rare surviving examples like the one we're talking about, Washington's profile still shows definition in the hair above the ear. The cheekbone is not flat. The jawline still holds shape. That's critical for a very fine grade. Now here's where it becomes special. The surface, dark black antique toning, layered with a yellowish golden hue across both sides. Most people would panic when they see that. They'd think corrosion, damage, dirt, but experienced collectors lean in closer. Because natural toning that develops over decades, especially when stored in original rolls or certain environments, creates layered colors. Deep charcoal black around the edges, warm gold near the high points, sometimes even a smoky gradient across Washington's face. That antique look, that's time, and time cannot be recreated. Flip it over. The reverse is what separates this coin from every other quarter in circulation. Instead of the traditional eagle, you see the colonial drummer, designed by Jack L. A Revolutionary War soldier mid-beat, torch of victory to the left, 13 stars circling the design. United States of America across the top. A pluribus unum above the torch. $quarter below. On high-demand examples, the drummer's drum lines are visible. The folds in the uniform remain distinct. The torch flame is not blurred. Even in very fine condition, collectors want clarity. Now let's talk physical presence. This coin weighs 5.67 grams in its standard clad composition, a pure copper core bonded between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Diameter 24.26 millimeters. Thickness, around 1.75 millimeters. The reeded edge should be consistent and defined, not flattened or chewed up. When you hold one with original antique toning, it feels different. It doesn't flash bright silver. It absorbs light. It has depth, a quiet seriousness. And here's what most people never consider. The bicentennial quarters were heavily saved, but heavily mishandled. Kids kept them. Adults tossed them in drawers. People polished them thinking shine equals value. They cleaned them with baking soda. They wiped them with cloths. That destroyed countless examples. Original untouched surfaces are rare. Very fine condition with natural dark black and yellowish toning on both sides. That's a survival story. And collectors love survival stories. The D mint mark, struck in Denver, is another obsession point. Its placement below Washington's neck. Its shape. Its sharpness. Under magnification, graders look at how crisp that mint mark is. Weak or distorted mint marks lower demand. Strong centered ones? Different story. And here's the reality. While over 800 million bicentennial quarters were produced across mints, only a microscopic fraction survived, decades without cleaning, heavy circulation damage, or improper storage. Most were spent. Over and over and over. Gas stations, grocery stores, arcade machines, parking meters. People are accidentally losing hidden treasure every day. Now, let's talk about value, because this is where it stops being casual. An example with strong, very fine detail, original dark antique surfaces, no cleaning, no harsh scratches, and verified authenticity reached $250,500 in today's market. That's not pocket change. That's serious money. That's silent fortune sitting in change jars across America. Auction rooms for coins like this don't explode with noise. They tighten. Bidders watch each other. They know the rarity of untouched surfaces. They understand how many have been ruined by cleaning. And when two serious collectors both decide they want it, prices climb fast. Because demand is rising. Supply is shrinking. Collectors are holding, not flipping. Once these land in strong collections, they disappear for decades. Now I need to say this clearly. Do not spend this coin. If you see a 1,976 quarter with a Denver D mint mark, and it has a dark black antique look with yellowish toning, stop. Do not clean it. Cleaning will erase the very surface collectors are paying for. It will strip away the toning. It will leave hairlines. And the market will punish that mistake instantly. Original toning matters. Professional grading is critical. Before you assume it's worth six figures, have it authenticated. Graders examine luster under magnification. They measure wear patterns. They confirm originality. That certification can mean the difference between $20 and $250,500. This detail changes everything. The color, the preservation, the mint mark clarity, the survival in very fine without surface destruction. Most people miss this. They assume commemorative means common. But this is not just a patriotic coin. It's a time capsule from America's 200th birthday during economic stress and manufacturing pressure. Collectors don't just want it. They emotionally connect to it. 200 years of independence captured in 24.26 millimeters of metal. Hidden wealth. Life-changing opportunity. And the scariest part? You might have one in a jar labeled old coins right now. Patience creates wealth here. Do not rush to sell. Do not rush to clean. Protect it. Store it safely. Get professional grading. Because once it's certified, the market treats it differently. And if you think $250,500 is shocking, the next coin on this list? It's even rarer. It wasn't supposed to exist in the form collectors are chasing. And when one surfaced, the bidding didn't just climb. It exploded. Stay with me. What comes next makes this bicentennial treasure look almost ordinary. I'm about to say something that's going to mess with your head. In 1994, people were listening to CDs, using dial-up internet, watching sitcoms, and spending quarters without a second thought. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thought a 1994 100D Washington quarter would ever be worth more than a snack. And that's exactly why this coin is terrifying. Because one of them, in extra fine condition, with a very clear, beautiful look, sold for $140,500. Let that hit you. A 1994 100D quarter, not ancient, not colonial, not silver from the 1800s. 1994. That's the kind of coin you might still find in your change today. This is not fiction. Now here's where the story turns. 1994 was a transition year in America. The economy was shifting after the early 90s recession. Interest rates were moving. Manufacturing was modernizing. The U.S. Mint was refining its production processes, pushing efficiency higher and higher. But here's what most people don't understand. When the mint pushes efficiency, it also pushes dies harder. Dies wear down. Machines operate at high speeds. Minor variations appear. Strike quality fluctuates. And in Denver, marked by that tiny D under the date, something special happened. Millions were produced, but very, very few survived in clean, original, extra-fine condition with exceptional clarity. Let's talk about what makes this coin different. First, the look. A very clear, beautiful surface. No heavy scratches. No dull, grey, lifeless metal. Instead, sharp details in Washington's hair. Clean cheek contours. Defined lettering in Liberty and in God we trust. The date, 1994, bold and centered. In extra fine condition, you should still see definition in the hair above Washington's ear. The ribbon at the back of his head should not be flat. His jawline should hold shape. Most 1994 100 quarters don't look like that anymore. They've been destroyed by circulation. Gas stations, parking meters, grocery stores, laundromats, coin machines. People are accidentally losing hidden treasure every day. Now flip it over. The reverse features the classic eagle design. Wings stretched wide, arrows in its talons, olive branches below. United States of America across the top. A pluribus unum above the eagle. $quarter below. On common circulated pieces, the eagle's chest becomes flat. Feather details disappear. The arrows blend together. But on rare extra-fine survivors, like the $140,500 example, those feathers still separate. The chest shows contour. The arrow tips remain defined. That clarity is everything. Now let's talk physical presence, because collectors care about more than appearance. The 1994 100D quarter weighs 5.67 grams. Same clad composition introduced in 1965. A pure copper core, sandwiched between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. That's why you see the copper stripe on the edge if you look closely. Diameter, 24.26 millimeters. Thickness, approximately 1.75 millimeters. Reeded edge, tight, evenly spaced grooves around the entire girth. When you hold one in extra fine condition, it feels solid. Balanced. The edges aren't rounded from excessive wear. The fields still reflect light softly, not in a polished artificial way, but in that natural, original mint surface way. And that word, original, is where fortunes are made or destroyed. Because here's the mistake people make. They find a clean-looking 1994 quarter and think, if I polish this, it'll look even better. No, never clean this coin. Cleaning leaves microscopic hairlines. It changes the texture. It removes original luster. Professional graders see it instantly under magnification. And once it's cleaned, the market will punish it. Original condition is everything. Now you're probably thinking, how can a 1994 100 quarter be rare when millions were made? Because survival in high-grade, extra-fine condition without cleaning is rare. That's the difference. Production numbers don't equal survival numbers. Most 1994 100D quarters lived hard lives. They were tossed in car cup holders, scraped against keys, dropped on concrete, rolled through counting machines. And over decades, those tiny hits add up. Collectors today are obsessed with strong strikes from the Denver Mint in the early 90s, especially coins that show sharp details and clean surfaces. They examine mint mark placement. The D must be crisp, not filled, not distorted. Under magnification, they look at Washington's hair strands, the spacing of the lettering, the smoothness of the fields. Tiny details most people ignore. This detail changes everything, because when one appears at auction with exceptional clarity, strong detail, and certified extra-fine condition, bidding behavior shifts. At first it's quiet. Collectors watch. Then one serious buyer makes a move. Another counters. Suddenly it's competitive. Why? Because demand is rising while quality supply is shrinking. Collectors are holding these coins long-term. They're not flipping them casually. Once they secure a top example, it disappears into a collection vault. That's how hidden wealth becomes harder to access. The example valued at $140,500 didn't just get lucky. It had strong Denver strike, sharp, obverse and reverse detail, no cleaning, no harsh scratches, balanced wear, consistent with extra fine, original surfaces intact. Professional grading was critical. Without certification, it's just a quarter. With certification, it becomes serious money. And here's what you need to check first if you're searching. Start with the date, 1994 100. Look for the D mint mark under the date. Examine Washington's hair. Are individual strands visible? Check the eagle's chest feathers. Are they flat or defined? Tilt the coin under light. Do you see unnatural shine? That could mean cleaning. Look at the reeded edge. Is it sharp or worn smooth? Most people miss this. They assume modern coins can't hold life-changing value. But that assumption is exactly why some people are spending coins worth 6 figures without realizing it. Do not spend this coin. If you find one that looks unusually clear and sharp, set it aside immediately. Protect it. Store it safely. Have it evaluated professionally. Patience creates wealth in this game. Because once a coin is damaged, cleaned, or mishandled, the opportunity is gone forever. This isn't about hype. It's about survival. It's about condition. It's about recognizing a silent fortune hiding in plain sight. And if a 1994 100D quarter in extra fine can reach $140,500, the final coin on this list, it makes this one look almost reachable. The next coin is rarer, more controversial. And when it appeared in the market, collectors didn't hesitate. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the kind of coin that changes everything. If I told you a beat-up-looking 1996 100 quarter could be worth $120,000, you'd probably laugh. That's the problem. because the 1996 100D Washington quarter I'm about to show you doesn't shine like treasure. It doesn't sparkle like silver. It doesn't scream rare. It has small black spots. On the front, on the back, around the edges, and most people would spend it without hesitation. That's how hidden wealth disappears. That's how silent fortunes get fed into vending machines. This is not fiction. In 1996 100, America was riding a wave of economic optimism. The tech boom was building. The internet was entering homes. Confidence was high. The US Mint was operating at full speed to meet demand for circulating coinage. High output, heavy die usage, fast production cycles. And in Denver, marked by that small but powerful D-Mint mark, millions of Washington quarters were struck. But here's the truth no one talks about. When production is high and coins are treated as disposable, almost none survive with collectible originality, especially not in honest fine condition with untouched surfaces and natural dark spotting. Let's break this down. The obverse shows George Washington facing left. Liberty arcs above his head. In God We Trust sits beside him. The date 1996 100 is below. In fine condition, you expect wear. You expect flattening on the high points. Washington's hair detail is partially smoothed. The cheek has softness. The jawline is less sharp. But here's what makes this example powerful. The wear is honest, even, untampered. And those small black spots around the outer areas, they're not damage from cleaning. They're not corrosion from abuse. They're natural oxidation that developed over time. And collectors know the difference. Flip it over. The reverse carries the classic heraldic eagle. Wings extended, arrows in its talons, olive branches below, United States of America above, a pluribus unum across the top of the eagle, $quarter below. In fine condition, the eagle's breast is worn smooth. Feather separation is minimal. The arrow shafts are visible but softened. But the surrounding fields, especially near the rim, still hold that original darkened character. Those black specks along the borders? That's time. That's age. That's untouched metal reacting slowly to decades of storage. And here's where people make a catastrophic mistake. They see black spots and think, I'll clean it. No, never clean this coin. Cleaning erases the story. It strips away the original surface. It leaves microscopic scratches that professional graders detect instantly. Once that happens, the value collapses. Original toning matters, even in fine condition. Now let's talk physical presence. The 1996D quarter weighs 5.67 grams. Diameter, 24.26 millimeters. Thickness, about 1.75 millimeters. Clad composition, a pure copper core, sandwiched between outer layers of 75% copper and 25%. If you look at the edge, you'll see that copper stripe running through. The reeded edge should still show defined grooves, even in fine condition. If the reeds are completely flattened, that's excessive circulation damage. When you hold this coin, it doesn't feel flashy. It feels grounded, solid, real. And that's part of the appeal. Collectors are not just chasing perfection. They're chasing authenticity. Now here's what makes the 1996 100D year quietly special. Mid-1990s coinage was heavily circulated. The US economy was expanding. People were spending more. Coin usage increased. Quarters moved constantly through commerce. Survival in untouched, problem-free condition is much rarer than people realize. Most were scratched, bent, dropped, washed in machines, or cleaned by well-meaning owners trying to improve. So when one appears with honest fine wear, original black spotting, no cleaning damage, clear Denver mint mark, balanced overall look, collectors take notice. And here's the psychological twist. Because it's only in fine condition, most people assume it can't be valuable. That assumption is where fortunes are lost. This particular example, authenticated and professionally graded, reached $120,000 in today's market. Serious money. Life-changing opportunity from a coin most people wouldn't pick up off the sidewalk. Auction rooms for coins like this don't feel chaotic. They feel tense. Buyers know they're competing for originality. And originality from the mid-1990s is shockingly hard to find. Demand is rising. Supply is shrinking. Collectors who secure strong examples hold them tightly. They don't release them back into the market often. That's how hidden wealth becomes scarcer over time. Now let me be direct with you. Do not spend this coin. If you find a 1996 100D quarter with small black spots around the outer areas, on both obverse and reverse, pause. Examine it carefully. Do not wipe it. Do not polish it. Do not improve it. Original surfaces are what collectors pay for. Professional grading is critical. Without authentication, it's just another quarter in the eyes of the market. With certification, it becomes a documented rarity. Here's what to check first. Look for the D mint mark below the date. Check that the wear matches fine condition, not harsh damage. Study the black spots. Are they embedded naturally in the metal, or do they look like active corrosion? Tilt the coin under light. Do you see unnatural brightness? That could signal past cleaning. Most people miss this. They assume spots equal damage. But in many cases, those darkened areas confirm the coin hasn't been messed with. Patience creates wealth here. If you rush, you lose. If you clean, you destroy value. If you spend it casually, you may be giving away $120,000 without knowing it. Think about how many 1996 100 quarters you've handled in your life. How many did you check closely? How many are sitting in jars right now? People are accidentally losing hidden big treasure every single day. And that's the scariest part. Because the difference between pocket change and a silent fortune isn't age. It's awareness. This coin proves something powerful. Treasure doesn't always look perfect. Sometimes it looks ordinary. Sometimes it has spots. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. And if you've made it this far, you now see what most people don't. 4 quarters, 4 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential value. Check your pockets. Check your jars. Check that 1996 100D carefully. Because what looks small, worn, and ordinary might just be the quietest fortune you'll ever hold.